Hello guys, welcome back to Mental Health Mondays. I hope you are all well. So today I wanted to touch on BPD and emptiness / emptiness in general. BPD is the mental illness that I've been diagnosed with, borderline personality disorder, and I want to make more videos this year in specific about BPD, but to be honest I feel like emptiness is something that a lot of us have felt, and maybe more than ever right now due to what's going on in the world. So for me with BPD and feeling empty, it mainly has presented itself in me just feeling numb to the world, and this I think was definitely one of the contributing factors to my 6-year-long self-harm habit, in that you self-harm just to feel something, because when you're so low and so depressed, it's just like you feel like you have no purpose and everything is pointless. Feeling empty is horrible, and with BPD, because a lot of it is linked with childhood trauma, this often presents itself in the form of dissociation, which is something I've made a video on previously that you can go and watch. But essentially dissociation is when your brain kind of detaches you, and well, I describe it as like a bell jar feeling. So you're stuck in a bell jar watching the world and it doesn't quite feel real, and you can't connect to things and you can't really feel anything, and you just feel overwhelmed. So this happens when you go through trauma, or when you may just feel really anxious. Your brain does this to protect you. In actual fact, it really doesn't help. And dissociation can also be a side effect to some medications. I've had to come off some anxiety medications because actually the dissociation and the empty and the numb feeling has actually been counterproductive to my anxiety recovery. I don't like feeling disconnected. I don't like feeling empty or numb. So why do we feel like this? I always like to get to the root of feelings, especially when you're feeling empty. So I've noted some down. Number one, having few or no meaningful relationships, and this is kind of specific to BPD because often people with BPD find it very hard to form meaningful relationships. Number two, you might live in an environment where you are misunderstood. Maybe your parents don't understand what you're going through with your mental illness, or you may be invalidated by, for example, a partner who's telling you you can't be anxious over that, that's stupid. You don't have a consistent sense of who you are, and again, this is another criteria with BPD, is that you have a very unstable sense of self. You're unsure of who you are, and you kind of, your character kind of fits into whatever situation you are in. Well, in my case at least, I used to change myself to fit into where I am, and of course we have to do this to an extent, but like for me, I mean, I had behaviours, taken upon accents, dressed a certain way, trying to be someone that I'm not to get people to love me, essentially. You may have experienced loss recently. That's 100% a reason where you might be feeling empty. You may feel unworthy or undeserving of love, and you may not feel like you're important. And the final reason may be that you don't have any professional, personal or academic goals in life. When we don't have goals, it's difficult to feel a sense of purpose, and therefore can leave you feeling quite empty. I'd almost rather feel an intense emotion like anger than I would emptiness, because it's just kind of nothing. There's just kind of like a void inside you. Often this can lead to people doing certain behaviors to fill that void. I know specifically with BPD there can be a lot of reckless behavior, like drinking or drugs or gambling or online shopping all the time, or engaging in risky sexual behavior. All of this is just to feel something, and we often go about it the wrong way because we don't really know what to do, and we don't, I mean, it's long, isn't it? It's long to sit down and work out where this has come from, why you're feeling that way, and what you can do to overcome it. It's so much easier just to go onto ASOS and order a load of stuff or down a bottle of wine. And unfortunately, in our society today, things like that are made not only readily available but more acceptable. So that often makes it very difficult to distinguish with what's healthy and what's unhealthy behavior. So instead of filling the void in unhealthy ways, I just wanted to give you some tips on how to overcome the feeling of emptiness, and just know that this is a process and it also will have its ups and downs. You may dip in and out of feeling empty. Tip number one is to find a purpose every day, because often when we feel empty, we feel like life has no meaning, and that's no way to go about living your life. Finding purpose in each day, even if it's as small as living your life for your pets, like maybe taking your dog out for a walk, or your sole purpose one day being getting up and brushing your hair, or getting out of bed, or watching Netflix. Like, it doesn't have to be something that's hard. Just setting yourself a purpose in that day, and maybe setting yourself an intention in the morning. This is what I've been doing recently. So today's intention has actually been to move through my day with compassion for myself, because at the moment I'm giving myself a real tough time. Number two, write down your achievements from your day. Write down, no matter how big or small it is, if you got up to make yourself a cup of tea, or you got up to make yourself some breakfast, you left your house, you did some work, whatever it is, make sure you write it down at the end of the day, because noting our achievements makes us feel so much better. Sometimes I forget what I've done in my day, and I like to sit down in the evening when I'm in bed and just write down what I've actually done that day and like congratulate myself for it. Number three, instead of fighting it and overthinking it, just go with it. Allow and embrace the numbness, the emptiness, or the overwhelming emotions that are leading to the numbness and the emptiness. I so often, like, as soon as I feel empty or dissociated, my first initial instinct is to fight it, is to deny it, is to hate on myself for feeling that way, and none of the above helps. I have learned after years and years and years and years and years of feeling like this that you just have to accept it. Accepting with and sitting with the emotions is one of the most powerful tools that you can use. And by observing these overwhelming emotions, you can start writing down and noticing patterns and starting to try and figure out solutions and what you can actually do to make things better for yourself. Number four is to look to yourself, not to others, to fulfill yourself. Again, another thing that we often do is rely on other people, especially with BPD. We can have massive attachment issues and massive issues with relying on other people for our own happiness, when in actual fact, you have it all within yourself. Yes, therapy is important. Yes, speaking to people about how you feel is important. But ultimately, at the end of the day, there is so much work that you can do yourself, and only you can fill this empty void within yourself, hopefully using some of these tips. And number five is to reach out to people and have a support network of people that you can trust. So, of course, like I just mentioned in the last point, don't look to others to fulfill you. We're not talking about fulfillment here. We're just talking about looking to others to be heard and to be validated. And maybe if you want advice from other people, looking to other people for advice. I am very lucky that I have a great psychiatrist and great friends around me. That doesn't mean to say that I sometimes just don't reach out for help when I really probably should. But building that support network, it doesn't have to be big. It just has to consist of a few people that you can rely on to talk through about how you feel, because we all know that after speaking to someone, you do tend to feel a lot better. And maybe the people that you speak to may share that they felt the same, or may share with you some tips that have helped them, or may even try and help you themselves by making an active effort to check up on you. So I really, really hope that these tips and this chat has helped you. I'm sending love to all of you who are feeling empty and feel like life has no purpose right now. I promise you, you will figure it out. If you did find it helpful, please make sure to leave a thumbs up and any comments that you might have down below. And I will see you in my next Mental Health Monday. Goodbye.